Hey everybody, it's Jay, and a while back I was at a crossroads and I recorded a video on this journey that I had in deciding whether or not to get a Jericho 941 or to get a CZ-75B, and I ended up settling on the Jericho 941, and if you're curious as to why I did, you can go check out that video. But ever since then I've had a CZ-75 itch that needed scratching, and a local gun store has been getting a pretty steady supply of CZ Shadow 2s. I also got to handle, while I was in there, a Checkmate, which is a very high-end competition semi-auto that is also a CZ, and really liked it. Couldn't get it out of my head, but I had a chance to finger some CZ Shadow 2s, and to be honest with you, I was really impressed with how they felt. So that has also been hanging over me for quite some time. That combined with wanting to get a CZ-75 of some stripe, and here we are with a Shadow 2. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying, as I often do in many of my videos, that I am a novice when it comes to competition semi-autos. This is the very first one that I've ever bought. So a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about in this video are probably things that are already extremely obvious to a lot of competition shooters. And I'm going to give my best effort to describe what my experience with this gun has been like so far as someone who's fairly new to the realm of competition-focused semi-autos. Additionally, I'm going to be talking about this gun basically as it came to me stock, because to be honest, I think that's probably the most honest way to do this. I'm going to go ahead and say the words Cajun Gunworks, so that way people who are already got their fingers on the keyboard or on the touchscreen ready to start firing off some aftermarket parts recommendations know that I am actually aware of them already and have a general idea of parts that I'm going to upgrade. But I think it's fair to look at this as best I can as this is how this gun came to me out of the box from the factory, with a few small exceptions that I'll also talk about then. So what do we have here? This is a 9mm. It comes standard with 17 round magazines. If I remember right, I got two. I got mine secondhand, so there could be some variation from what I got to what you would get out of the box factory new. I have added base plates. Additionally, this gun came to me with black stocks, grip panels. I changed them to the silver ones with the silver base plates, and it had a silver mag release, or sorry, a black mag release that I changed out to silver to match the panels, and it all matches the trigger, which this trigger is silver from the factory as well. This has a 5-inch barrel, and the first thing that I really noticed about this gun whenever I first pulled it out of the box is it is real heavy. It is quite a hefty feeling gun, but keep in mind that that is by design. Actually, the weight is a feature bullet point on the website because it is weighted in such a way that it balances very well. The gun actually balances right about here, and that's with an unloaded magazine. So once you add a loaded magazine, especially with 20 rounds, you're basically shifting the point of balance on this gun perfectly to your grip. So what that helps do is help get your sights back on target between shots, which is what something competitors, from what I understand, really try to seek out. They try to seek out a gun that will let them get back on target as quickly as possible because it helps shave time off when they're running competitions. Now, I'm not a competition shooter, so I'm stating that as an observer more than anything else, but someday I'll end up doing some competition stuff, I'm sure, and I'm sure that this gun will go with me then. Now, the sights are black with a fiber optic front. Pretty good for target shooting. This is not an optics ready model. The optics ready models come slide cut, so you can add a dot. Cajun Gunworks will also do a slide cut for you with these. So either way, whether you get the optics ready version or have the slide cut, that is an option for you in the aftermarket. We have a basic frame mounted safety, which you can see there, very easy to operate. It is ambidextrous, but it's also very low profile, so it can clear holsters pretty easily and quickly. You can see that we're clear. This one is a double and single action model. There is no decocker. One interesting thing that I thought was a pretty neat little addition is the mag release is actually adjustable as well. So it has 3 positions that slide into a detent. So you can have the mag release set a little lower, in the middle, or high, and I have mine set to high, so my short little stubby thummies can get to the mag release fairly easily. So the trigger is very smooth in double action, but I also find it to be not as light as it could be. And again, we're talking right out of the box versus doing some kind of aftermarket mod to make it lighter. The single action, however, feels quite good for the most part. If I have one complaint about the single action pull, it's that there's a little bit of creep, and you can see the trigger start to move back before it finally goes. And I found myself flinching because of that, which is something I need to train out of. But I've been shooting a lot of revolvers lately, especially my Smith & Wesson 627, which has a very crisp, fairly light single action break. And this I don't find to be either particularly light and certainly not at all crisp. Now I think going to a single action only would help with some of that creep. And obviously, again, Cajun Gun Works, another aftermarket, has triggers that are a lot smoother, or I should say will have a more crisp break. But again, we're talking about factory out of the box here, so that's my perception of this, my opinion of this at this particular time is I really do think overall the trigger could be better out of the box. Another thing that I've really noticed on this gun is that it has just an incredible amount of fit and finish. It is very smooth, and I'm going to take it down so you can see what the internals look like. You just line up these notches here, push this pin out, which I'm going to have to grab a tool for because it's a little stiff. But everything is just fitted extremely, extremely well. This is probably the highest end, like best fitted together handgun, or at least a semi-auto handgun that I've got. You can even see the internals here, if you can, just how even all of the finish is and everything. It's really impressive how well made this gun is. And it also reflects, I mean, the heft, you know, things that have a hefty feel to them often are going to feel like they're a little bit better quality than things that are pretty light. But this is reflected. It's not just a weight thing. It's just how everything fits together and just how smooth everything is. It's really, really impressive, and it feels great. One thing to note too on this that I forgot to mention, there is an over travel stop for the trigger. So that's good. Of course, we have an accessory rail if you want to add something, so on and so forth. So let's talk about my overall experience so far with this gun. Oh, that's the opposite direction. All right, I'm putting this all in now. Okay,
of course.
You're good there. This is Shadow 2 brass ammo. Clear. I've put about, I would say maybe 300 rounds at this point through this, and really I feel like I'm just scratching the surface on what this gun can do. I can tell you right off the bat that the gun itself is more mechanically accurate than I'm capable of being right now. I put a target out at 25 yards and shot one full mag through from a rest, and I felt like I did pretty decently. Another thing that I have noticed, is that that weight does work extremely well for getting sights back on target. After each pull of the trigger, honestly, if you're doing your part as far as holding the gun properly with a good grip and a good stance, the sights are going to just return naturally right back to where you're holding them. So you don't have to struggle much at all because of the way that this weight is distributed. You don't have to struggle much at all with keeping those sights on target, which is phenomenal. It's incredible to me just how easy it is to return sights to point of aim. One issue that I did have with this gun was shooting steel-cased ammunition. I wish I could have shot some better 9mm through it, but unfortunately right now in the middle of the pandemic, I basically am stuck with what I have already stocked, which is mostly a lot of cheap Russian steel case. So I noticed after maybe 2 magazines, I was getting pretty constant FTEs. It seemed like the extractor was skipping off of the rim, and with brass, it worked perfectly fine. But with all my Wolf ammo, I was getting really, really poor reliability. So I was reading online, read a few places that said that some ammunition types can be a little iffy in this gun, and not only in this gun, but even in CZ-75s and so on, and that an extra power extractor spring would resolve that issue. So I did order an extra power extractor spring. I got one from Wolf. I had to clip a few coils off of it, maybe 2 coils or 1.5 coils or so. I basically started trimming a little bit down, a little bit down, a little bit down until the gun would cycle reliably, and that resolved the issue. I can now shoot steel case ammunition out of this. Ordinarily, in a non-panic time frame, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I'd say, okay, well, it doesn't like steel. I'm just going to shoot brass through it and not worry about it. Some people will scoff at putting steel through an $1,100 gun anyway, that's fine if they want to scoff at that. Having a gun down because I can't feed it, because I can't get ammo for it, is a little bit less acceptable. I would far rather be able to feed it junk ammo. Not that I think Wolf is junk, but I would rather be able to feed it whatever ammo I can get a hold of and still be able to shoot than have it basically be a paperweight until ammunition gets to where I can actually find and buy it again. So with a $7, well, it was really a $4 and $3 shipping spring, I think that was worth investing in and making that one change to be able to shoot the ammunition that I have. Other thing that I'll note on fitment as well. Fitment is one of those things that is extremely subjective and it varies from person to person, but I really think is probably the most important aspect of choosing a handgun outside of reliability. Because if the gun does not fit your hand well, you're not going to be able to perform well with it, and ultimately you're probably not going to get much range time with it, whether it's an discomfort issue or you just can't keep control of it or whatever it happens to be. So I'm going to call this out because, again, I know everybody's hands are a little bit different. My hands are not particularly large as far as I don't have big mitts, and I do have fat hands because I'm a fat guy, but I do have kind of short, stubby fingers, and this grip is almost too small for me. If you notice this hump here, really, though it's comfortable, it just almost does not fit my hand well. It's just a little bit on the small side. Like my hand feels crowded by this beaver tail, and because the grip is all part of the frame, there's no back straps or anything, I'm stuck with this grip. So if I had one complaint, it wouldn't be, again, it's not the gun's fault, it's just how it fits me. I would prefer to have a slightly different angled grip because, again, it just barely fits me properly. But I wanted to call that out because I'm sure people who do have very large hands may also have an issue with this grip. So if that is a consideration or concern, I'd recommend getting your hands on one and just checking the fit and make sure that it's going to fit you properly. Other than that, I really have no complaints with this gun at all. It has been a real joy to shoot. It's been a lot of fun. Again, it feels almost above me because I have been shooting military-style guns with military pedigrees, and some outright surplus guns, handguns specifically, for so long at this point that this feels almost too nice for me. But I know that once I start shooting competitions and stuff, I probably will appreciate having it, and then we'll see what other kind of changes, like I said, I'll end up making. I would like to change out the trigger and hammer combination. and get something that that is a little more crisp and fits me a little bit better. But again, until I determine what the rule sets I'm going to be shooting mostly in are, I'll probably keep the stock and then make a decision a little later on down the road. So anyway, this is Jay. Hope you liked the video. Please click like if you did. Be sure to subscribe to us if you haven't already, and go check out the link to our Patreon page if you're interested in helping support us.